X beat Y, therefore Y beat Z, so X is better than Z. You don't want to get too deep down that rabbit hole in the NFL, because that is how you end up saying that the Jets beat the Bills and the Bills beat the Dolphins and the Dolphins looked like a spaceship, and then today the Bills actually look like the best team in football. And then tonight in prime time, I don't want to say the Chiefs laid an egg, because that's not quite right. But they also didn't look quite like themselves. And Zach Wilson looked like a competent quarterback, which is better than could have been said about him any moment previously this much maligned season, or really maybe his much maligned career to this point. There are two places that I think I'm willing to go ahead and plant my flag. One thing on each side of the ball, and then we'll start taking your calls. We'll hear from the Chiefs from New York before too long, and we'll bring you. We'll talk to Matt Derrick later on. We'll bring you all the primetime breakdown this game deserves. But it's confusing when Zach Wilson throws the ball more times than Patrick Mahomes, completes the ball more times than Patrick Mahomes, throws for more yards, more touchdowns, fewer interceptions. Passer rating, I'm imagining QBR. Zach Wilson, by every metric, had a better day than Patrick Mahomes. Now, Mahomes made some huge plays on the ground, 50 yards rushing tonight, and I thought Dylan made a good point a few times. He said if this was a playoff game, Mahomes would have rushed for 100 yards. And I think that's true. I'm Joshua Brisco, by the way. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass. Covell Hudson producing as well. But in a night where the Chiefs ran the ball for on 35 carries for 204 yards, Isaiah Pacheco with the bulk of those, 115 rushing yard day, plus he was the team's second leading receiver, three catches for 43 yards through the air. The Chiefs were able to run the ball pretty effectively, although that, the Pacheco's long touchdown was certainly boosting those stats. But overall, you kind of saw him do the 7-yard run, 1-yard loss. 7-yard gain, 1-yard loss. Felt like there was a little bit of that kind of ebbing and flowing for Pacheco. We've talked a lot about the Chiefs getting the running game going and how that is something you want to see from the offense, and we saw that. And that's nice. But it's also good to remember that's not the offense. It's a thing you want the Chiefs to be able to do as often and as easily as they can, because it is, again, that sort of easy button that you can put on the desk of your quarterback. When everything through the air is difficult, hand the ball to the Energizer Bunny, who runs like he's angry at the dirt that lays below his feet, or in this case, the turf below his feet. Let him just stomp his way down a defense and then take the easy stuff. That's a good thing to be able to have. But tonight for the Chiefs, their leading wide receiver was Rashee Rice, 3 catches for 32 yards. Kadarius Toney was the leading receiver well into the game with 2 catches for 22, one of them being that little pop pass. Marquez Valdes-Scantling had 1 catch for 6 yards. That was a first down and a big moment. Nice to see. But that was his only reception. And then Justin Watson had 1 catch for 5. To be honest, I can't even remember when that one was. Sky Moore was shut out again tonight. Justin Ross didn't get a target. Richie James is on IR. And the Jets' secondary is leaps and bounds better than the Bears. We knew this. We talked about this. But that is one place where I have some sort of big picture and more narrow concern. Rashee Rice looks comfortable, looks like a part of this offense. He also looks like he's going to have 1 play per game where it's either a drop or a ball he doesn't quite get to, or something where you cringe a little bit as the ball goes through or around or off his hands. And this team still doesn't have an answer right now for where do we go with the football when Travis Kelce isn't the only target here. Big Noah Gray touchdown, stupendous, but it wasn't 7 catches for 80 yards and a touchdown for him. It was 1 for 34. I really like it when Kadarius Toney has the ball in his hands. He moves with a violence and an explosiveness that's really exciting to watch. But he's not getting used like a number 1 wide receiver, much in the way that he was kind of hyped up like he was going to be this offseason. And how many times tonight, I mean, the offensive line, this was not its best effort. But either Mahomes was under duress and making plays in space, or when he had time, there were just no receivers open. It's where you get your hold, your illegal contact, whatever, when defenses have to hold on for 6-7 seconds. It's a nice thing to be able to force them to do, but an unfortunate thing to have to deal with when you can't find an open pass catcher. I never actually thought they were going to lose the Jets tonight. The Mahomes picks were so weird and felt so uncharacteristic, even as he had at least one other ball that you were kind of having a similar, like, oh, God, what's happening here kind of fear of where's this football going to land? But I never thought that Mahomes was going to fail to have one of those sort of magical Mahomes moments. He gave you multiples of those. But against a good defense here, things just felt labored for this Chiefs offense through the air. We've got a good example of what it looks like when the running game is fun and successful. But I do have my concerns about where it really settles in, like what the true identity of this Chiefs offense is going to be. Through 4 weeks, I'm not completely sure. Isaiah Pacheco is a treat to watch run, clearly their best running back. Travis Kelce is incredible and looks like himself after, being hobbled in week 2, obviously missing week 1. And this sort of receiving core by committee thing is a fine thing in theory. But it doesn't work in practice if Sky Moore can't be Juju Smith-Schuster. Or if Rashee Rice can't be even more than they've asked him to be to this point. MVS being 2 for 60 is one thing. 1 for 6 isn't going to do it. Now, again, he was involved and he got the hold on him and there's another MVS target earlier on. I can't even remember why that one came back. And I still thought, that was a good effort to get him the football. I think that one might have been a hold. Maybe came back on one of the Juwan Taylor penalties. No illegal formations or false starts for Juwan Taylor. That's exciting. I say mostly tongue-in-cheek for some of the other issues there. Defensively, and then we'll take your calls. Defensively, I still find myself being predominantly a full believer in the Chiefs' defense, but seeing Zach Wilson have a get-right game isn't exactly the encouragement I wanted to see. I'm not thrilled with that. But George Karlaftis had 3 or 4 pressures tonight. Chris Jones, it wasn't every rep consistently, but we saw him, dealing with a groin injury throughout practice. No designation coming into the game today, but I am curious how that was affecting him. He gets that 1 sack at the end of the first half, so his incentive clock keeps ticking. L'Jarius Sneed, not a great day for him. Felt like he was on Garrett Wilson, and while Garrett Wilson was having a nice night, not a totally game-breaking one, but a chain-moving one. 9 for 60 is a type of day from Garrett Wilson that you'd probably live with, but isn't exciting. Allen Lazard also had a few big plays. I think maybe we saw Trent McDuffie's first bad rep of the season, and even it wasn't disastrous. I think the defense is still mostly legitimate, but you saw what happens when Zach Wilson is feeling like he can work under that little 2.5 second little crunch time cutoff they were talking about on the broadcast today. When he can be on time moving that way, it at least operates like a semi-functional offense that doesn't necessarily need Trevor Siemian to solve everything. But I also thought the Chiefs were going to end Zach Wilson's career tonight. And I think instead he saved his job for at least another week against a defense that I believed and still do believe is actually very good. Makes this a weird one. A little bit of an odd game to figure out where to land from, because I think there are positives you could be encouraged by. I think there are negatives that are alarming. I think altogether, beating the Jets by a field goal in prime time doesn't feel as good as you'd like for it to. But also the Chiefs are 3-1. And if 3 points in this game go a little bit differently, the Chiefs and Jets are both 2-2 football teams sitting at similar spots in the AFC, and that would have been a nightmare. So I'm not over-crediting the Chiefs for getting by a field goal. I said last week, the main reason that I wasn't afraid to take away legitimate things from the Bears game is because the Chiefs made the Bears look like a terrible football team, and that's what they are. But the Jets looked fully competent on both sides of the ball tonight. Not a terrible surprise defensively. A little surprised that we saw Zach Wilson look like an NFL quarterback. And even more surprised that we had a couple of instances of Patrick Mahomes looking like Zach Wilson. Not where you want to land, but a win is a lot easier to discuss than that being a loss. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and others from New York as we go on tonight. But we'll go to the phones first. We start with Travis. Travis, you're on Sports Radio 810. What's up, Travis?
JB, I thought I was watching Freaky Friday. You know the movie where, and I thought that maybe at some point in the second quarter that Wilson and Mahomes switch bodies because
seriously,
they kind of, it was really weird. I'm 100% on the same page with you. I think the wide receiver thing is a problem, and I was the guy that was like, no, we'll be fine. We don't need to go after D-Hop or spend the money in the offseason on a veteran wide receiver, and I think that I was wrong. If Kelsey's not open, he literally has nowhere to go with the ball. And I know that the Jets' defense is better than average, and they have a legit shutdown corner. You have to have somebody else get open, and I just don't think that they were getting open. And I also think so the two picks that he threw kind of reminded me of the interception that he threw in Jacksonville where he just was like, bleep it and flung it down the field.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they were frustration throws, to be honest. I think that he's just trying to make something happen, giving the guy, make something happen because nobody is on the offense, at least wide receiver-wise, doing their job. So I don't know how they fix that at this point. I mean, I guess maybe you could trade for a Hollywood Brown or, I know the Bears want to trade Chase Claypool or,
mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts is available, I think. There's some options out there, but I think they're going to have to make a move because I don't think that they're going to I think they'll win games, but I don't think that they can win a Super Bowl with this group as is. So, and that's all I got.
Travis, I appreciate the shout, appreciate the call, and here's the only thing that I'll add on the trade sort of options at this point. I don't know how many of those guys move the needle in a meaningful way. This team has a bunch of mid-level receivers. You mentioned Kyle Pitts. Hey, if Kyle Pitts is on the table, then that's a phone call I'd be willing to have a long conversation about. But some of the other guys, Chase Claypool doesn't solve those problems, even as the Bears desperately would like to keep the receipt on that trade that they made. That's an absolute disaster. Next up on the phones here, we got Frazier. Frazier, you're on 810. What's up? Hey, Frazier, you got us?
I'm here.
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, what's going on?
How you doing tonight?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Usually I would start my message off with how about those Chiefs, but it wasn't that exciting, so I just have to say how about those Chiefs in a very mild tone. But I just think tonight, man, I think that the defense underestimated Dak. I had no idea. I didn't think Dak was going to do as good as he did. I don't know what his motivation was, but he came out doing his thing. And I think the offense was overwhelmed by the Jets' defense. Man, we know the Jets got a top 5 defense in the league, so they showed it tonight. I wanted to ask you, and I'll get offline so you can answer. Do you think that we need a deep play threat in order to open up the offense? I want to know your thoughts. Thanks, man. I love the show, man. Have a good night.
Appreciate that, Frazier. Thank you very much. It's a fun question and a weird one and kind of a frustrating one, honestly, about the deep threat. Because that's what MVS is there for, and that's what Justin Watson's there for, and that's something that Justin Ross should be able to do. So it's not a bad question at all, Frazier. I completely understand why that's the question we're asking. But I think the answer is no. I think they need somebody in the intermediate who's not named Travis Kelce, who Mahomes can trust to get open a little bit. My hope comes from that being Rashee Rice, and that being something that he can grow into that role over the course of the rest of the season. But again, I hear your question because I want to say I already did say no. I don't think the deep threat's the place to invest now because you have guys who should be in that role already. But that's not a place where MVS has made defenses pay this year. It's not a spot where Justin Watson is consistent. Again, if I tell you that MVS and Justin Watson are there to make defenses respect you deep, I'm telling you that about two receivers tonight who combined for 2 catches for 11 yards. So I don't feel great about that argument, but I also don't know where else this team is going to have a better chance to invest. Next up, we got George. George, you're on Sports Radio 810. What's up, George?
Well, I've got the headline for this Kansas City Star tomorrow morning.
Hit me.
Pigskin pig slop.
I'll take it. I like it.
Was not pretty, boss. Questions that need to be asked. Are Juwan Taylor's positives worth more than his negatives?
I don't know. I will ruminate on that. You fire off all of your questions that need answering, and I will write them down with detail.
Can we honestly say that they won by 3 instead of by 1 because of that?
Yeah.
And can we have maybe Pacheco get a little closer to the line of scrimmage when he catches his handoff? Getting it too far back is just, it allowed the defense to keep him behind the line.
Yeah, and a lot of that was sort of those what felt like almost desperate kind of stretch runs for him, which was sort of an odd thing just because the Chiefs haven't had much success with that over the years. Pacheco's got the juice for it, but it's sort of an odd one.
I heard the parody song of for Taylor during your daytime show, and I don't know if he came up with a title for it, but if the breakup's coming, the title should be Hard Pass.
George, I appreciate you, sir.
Betcha. Adios.
The other question about Juwan Taylor, which will Dylan keep me posted with what you're hearing there from New York. We'll bring you Reid and Mahomes later on. Not sure who else might be coming up to the podium, but if we can bring you podium, we'll do that next. If not, we'll take a couple more calls and then need to take a timeout. I wonder, with some truth serum, what Brett Veach would say about that Juwan Taylor contract right now. It's so early. It's 4 games into his Chiefs career, but it's 4 games into a $20 million average annual value contract. And it's been a mess. My hunch still, again, no false starts, no illegal formations for Juwan Taylor tonight. My hunch still is that they'll play worse defenses than the Jets. He'll settle in. He'll look like the version of himself who the Chiefs paid a lot of money for, but with reasonable pass production informing that. That's my hope. And I think that's my actual belief as to what's going to come next for Juwan Taylor. But right now, it would be really, really tough for me to tell you that I feel, honest to goodness, good about that contract. It would be really hard to. I think when the penalties stop, when the alignment types of penalties stop, I think it's one less thing for him to think about, and maybe you see him look like the dominant pass-blocking right tackle that they brought him in to be. And, to be fair, that safety should not have been a safety based on the letter of the law of how those penalties get called and the way they explained it on the broadcast. The face mask started in front of the end zone and continued into the end zone. But it was definitely a face mask. So I don't even have a whole lot of vitriol for the referees there, even as they had plenty of times tonight where they were a mess, and Robert Saleh was pissed about something that definitely looked like a defensive hold. He didn't mug him, but also Derrick didn't horse collar tackle anybody. So another wonderful night of NFL refereeing that I would love to honestly just forget about. Dylan, quick thumbs up, thumbs down here. We got an empty podium there in New York right now, correct? Okay, so I'm going to hold in a little bit of a holding pattern, and then Zach and Gary, you guys have the next two on the phone lines, but I want to make sure that we don't get you started and then have to cut you off. Mahomes and Pacheco were both talking on NBC after the game, so that could have delayed things a little bit. We're keeping an eye on that, and we'll bring you all the audio we get all night long here. No, I'm not. We're not going all night long. Dylan's having a flu game right now, and I think tomorrow might be my flu game. And Dylan, I just hope is here. But we will bring you the audio as long as it takes. We'll bring you the audio from everything tonight, and we will talk to Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest a little bit later on as we break down a truly odd showdown between a team that I think is going to be very seriously contending in the playoffs and a team that I still think is limited by its quarterback. But if you're a Jets fan tonight, you could make a pretty solid argument that you lost a one-possession game to the Chiefs, and Zach Wilson looked competent enough for you to win some games against lesser football teams, which is also absolutely not what I expected from this game. We definitely could have taken a call. We might have been able to stick in a whole commercial break. But I'm afraid to do it now. I see Dylan like a dog hearing noise. All right, hey, Isaiah Pacheco speaking live from his home state of New Jersey. Let's hear Isaiah Pacheco.
And the team most definitely picking up one another, playing hard for each other. Great team over there.
And what about you coming here for this game?
Oh, it was a great feeling. Never been in the stadium before. I've been in the Philly Stadium. First professional real football game inside the stadium. It was a great feeling. And blessed to see my family here supporting me. And not only that, get a victory.
How many times did you imagine scoring a touchdown here in MetLife, and how did it feel once you got to the end zone?
I didn't really picture it, but, focusing and staying patient and just listening and doing my job, it allowed me to get in the end zone and finishing with the guys up front.
It's a really big team win as well. How big is this for you guys moving forward, do you think?
Oh, it's awesome. It shows you how much we play for one another, and not only that, we got a lot more ball to play and a lot more time to build with each other.
How hard a grind was this tonight?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
How hard a grind was this tonight?
Oh, it was a lot of hard grind. Every time I got in the huddle, I was telling the O-line, let's strain, let's finish. And, that was the mindset.
You had a lot of extra energy coming in, it seemed like tonight. Did you feel that?
Oh, yeah, I felt good tonight. I ain't gonna lie to you. I felt light on my feet. Back to the process rolling.
You told us earlier this week, when you're getting ready to score, your celebration kind of goes through your head. What were you thinking about as you were running to the end zone?
Hey, when I was running there on that one, that was a long one, so I wasn't thinking about nothing. I'm like, sheesh, just let me get in there.
Are you impressed by the defense? Was it better than what you thought?
Absolutely. The defense up front, very hard. They played very solid, and for us, just finishing. That was the mindset of the offensive line, finishing.
So you guys killed the last, I think, 7.5 minutes of the game with the ball. You did the same thing in Jacksonville. Why have you guys been so good in those situations?
It starts in practice. Practicing those situations when we're getting down to it, and listening to Pat on this calls and making sure that we play for one another.
Isaiah, can you describe the push-ups? What was going on?
Oh yeah, I was a little slow getting up there, so I had to get my juice back.
Last one. Isaiah, Andy said that Patrick said something in the locker room at halftime. What did he tell you guys, and what was his mentality kind of coming at the last few minutes of that game?
Way to play for each other, both sides of the ball. And this half, when we go out there, let's just keep building and play for one another, make plays. That's the goal and the mindset we got.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
There you go, Isaiah Pacheco, live from New York. It's Sunday night, live from New Jersey. It's Sunday night, live from MetLife. She didn't really think about much growing up, I guess. No, but very cool for him to be back close to the old stomping grounds and certainly close to Rutgers. Talked about earlier this week that he was a Philly fan growing up because of being in South Jersey as opposed to getting swept up by the Jets or Giants, I suppose. But regardless, a big night for Pacheco. And again, one of the, I don't even say silver linings, because silver linings is something you usually say about a loss, but one of the real bright spots tonight, 20 carries for 115 on the ground. That's almost 6 yards a pop. No pun intended, but I'll take it. And that touchdown on the 48-yarder, plus 3 catches for 43 through the air, catching all 3 of his targets. He's just a real part of this offense. He's an excellent player. He's a treat to watch. I don't know. It's hard to be hyperbolic about Isaiah Pacheco because I feel like people have a pretty good judgment of like what his best role is in this offense, what he can bring to the unit, why he is so much fun to watch. I mean, he's just explosive, electric as a running back in a way that can be hard to be as evident. Just, again, it's the nickname, it's the word that's on the chain around his neck in the presser there, but he just has a pop. He has a pop about him that makes him an absolute blast. We'll either go back out to New York, or to the phones, or to commercial. That's something we figure out when we're all up in the air, but we probably should go ahead and take a timeout. What do you think, Dylan? You think our odds are pretty good on threading this needle? I say we need to do it. It's getting pretty late here. So if you're on the phones right now, we will get to you coming up before too long. Zach and Gary, you guys are 1 and 2 on the order, respectively. The Chiefs get the victory in prime time, 23-20. It was not easy going. It was not a laid-back win. The Chiefs are 3-1. They're victorious, which means we have a lot more good stuff to talk about. We'll continue doing that next in the Sports Radio 810 WHP Postgame Show.
You're listening to live postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810 WHP.
If you're on the job day in and day out, you know living with pain in your knees, hips, back, or shoulders is miserable. The good news, QC Kinetics gets it. They understand guys like you.
They don't have the luxury of taking time off. They want to keep working. We are built for those guys that want to keep working and want to stay active. So the vast majority of who we see are the blue-collar guys like me and you.
QC Kinetics uses biologic therapies, just like pro athletes have used for years, to get you lasting pain relief with no surgery.
I want you to continue working. I want you to continue exercising. The joints are made to be moved.
The treatments at QC Kinetics are fast and non-invasive.
It's not a lot of time commitment on your part. There is no downtime or recovery time. You don't need short-term disability with what we do. We want to keep you active.
Call QC Kinetics now to set up your free no-obligation consultation. Learn how you can get real pain relief and stay on the job.
Call QC Kinetics, 816-412-6299. That's 816-412-6299. 816-412-6299.
Whether you're looking for automotive, commercial, or residential tinting, Midwest Tinting is the best in Kansas City. This is SSJ. Commercial and residential tinting reduces fading, glare, and provides privacy while maintaining cooler temperatures and even lowering your energy bills. Tinting is the perfect alternative to blinds or shutters in your home or business, so you can maintain the open concept and enjoy all the benefits. With 3 locations in Overland Park, Lee Summit, and Independence, give Midwest Tinting a try today. Call 913-384-COOL. to learn more.
If you're thinking of purchasing a home, don't wait for the rates to drop before you buy. When rates drop, house prices climb. Take advantage of our Inflation Shield purchase program exclusive at Cap One Lending. Being an Inflation Shield customer, you can enjoy home ownership now, and when rates drop, our streamlined process will allow you to enjoy a lower rate and a lower payment. We will also waive our lender fee when you refinance at your new low rate. Call now to get pre-approved, 816-905-1111. Remember, we can always get you a lower rate, but we can't get you a lower price on a new home. Call Cap One Lending now to be approved in an hour and closed in about 2 weeks. 816-905-1111. That's 905-1111, or apply at caponelending.com.
Cap One Lending, making your dreams a reality is what we do.
Cap One Lending, a Kansas licensed mortgage company, license number MC0026341, and MLS of Missouri license 2468614. Programs and rates subject to change without notice.
At the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End All Alzheimer's, walking means so much more. It means fighting for a different future, for families facing the disease today, for treatments. Because when you take part in a Walk to End Alzheimer's, you're not just walking, you're fighting to stop the disease. We're closer than ever, but to get there, we need you. Join us for the world's largest fundraiser to fight the disease. Register today at alzwalkkc.org. That's alzwalkkc.org.
Hi, this is Greg Gurley. Hey, Kansas fans, subscribe to the new Jayhawker podcast.
Devin Neal hit it to one. Second effort, he fights in. Touchdown, Kansas.
There's no other podcast with as much access to all of Kansas athletics as the Jayhawker.
And it's picked. KU's got it. It's an interception. Quentin Lassiter.
You can watch the Jayhawker podcast on YouTube. You can listen on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hear exclusive Chiefs coverage every week from the best in the business. Only on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Trent Green, Adam Schefter, Tim Grunhard, Adam Teicher, Matt Derrick, Adam Kaplan, Chef Shadia, Nick Leckie, Gary Barnett, Bill Moss, Mark Bowricker, Stan Weber, Sam McDowell, Seth Kaiser, Blair Kirchhoff, Kevin Harlan, Field Yates, Jesse Newell, Cynthia Freeland, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Kansas City, you don't need a reason to order Hickory Smoked Barbecue from Jack Stack. You can order it anytime you want. Just order carry out online at jackstackbbq.com/810. That's jackstackbbq.com/810.
We're back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw $5 down on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code 810WHB. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code 810WHB. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football. Terms on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Warm weather is just around the corner, which means insects and other pests are soon to follow. Plan now to keep bugs out of your home or business with Augustine Exterminators. Now's the time to establish and or maintain a barrier from pests. Augustine also provides carpet, rug, tile, and air duct cleaning. Enjoy your backyard this summer by keeping mosquitoes away. For an average-size home, Augustine Mosquitoes Control Service is only $85 a month. Call Augustine Exterminators today at 913-359-8627 or go online to AugustineExterminators.com.
In town for a big football game or wanting a staycation to enjoy the great fall weather? Experience the Inn at Meadowbrook. Enjoy the lakefront park trails and spacious family suites. Nestled in the middle of parkland, lakes, and trails in the heart of Meadowbrook Park and only 15 minutes from Kansas City's attractions, the Inn is thoughtful and intimate in design, purposefully tucked away from the hustle and crowds. The Inn at Meadowbrook is a one-of-a-kind hotel you'll love to experience. For reservations, go to innatmeadowbrook.com or call 913-329-9000.
Mahomes has Jerick McKinnon as his back, galloping away. Mahomes pressured, escaping again. Mahomes got the first down and goes down inbounds before the touchdown that will end the game. All they have to do is take a couple of knees, and this game is done.
The decision made to go man coverage on the back end. Anytime you play man coverage against Patrick Mahomes, he knows it. He knows which side you don't have help on. He goes that way. He breaks your back. He breaks your spirit. And he wins world championships. And he becomes the most valuable player in the league. End of story. He did it again.
He's certainly that. That right there is Patrick Mahomes icing the game. If you've got problems with heating or cooling, well, good news. I got a champion for you. That Magic Mahomes moment's brought to you by Champion Heating and Cooling. Keep your family warm this winter with their Champion Premium Furnace. Find your local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com, and don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. We'll hear from Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid later on. Already heard from Isaiah Pacheco. But first, I want to get back to the phones. Some of you have been holding on for a little bit. Starting off here with Zach. Zach, thanks for waiting. You're on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. What's on your mind, Zach?
Hey, thanks, Josh. And I bet you could probably say it with me. Only weird games, man.
We've not been proven wrong yet.
goodness sakes. But let me just kind of switch things up, bring a little bit of positivity. Because think about this. The Jets might have the best defense that we're going to see maybe all year, unless, we see the 49ers, Cowboys in the Super Bowl, or somehow the Browns turn it around and make it. The Jets have 2 shutdown corners. Sauce was one of the best cornerbacks last year and probably will end up being one of the best again this year. DJ Reed is top 5 right now in most statistical categories. Quinnen Williams is basically a younger Chris Jones, and their linebackers are studs. That defense is sick. So not a real big surprise that our young wide receivers can't get open. But, other than the fact that for whatever reason it seems like Aaron Rodgers snuck some ayahuasca into Zach Wilson, and all of a sudden it seems like I didn't watch much Dragon Ball Z as a kid, but it seems like he just turned Super Saiyan or something for a drive there, making all the throws that we haven't even seen Aaron Rodgers make for 2 years.
Yeah.
All that aside, think about this. The Chiefs are still winning in ways that we've never seen before, though. It's always been the offense, and it's always been passing in the Mahomes era. And now for the first time, we have a legit defense. If they hold people to 18 points a game, we are winning every single one of those games this year.
Absolutely.
There's just no way that Patrick Mahomes is going to let anything else happen. We turn around, and we have a decent runner for the first time in Mahomes' career. And hopefully this will go for a full season. That's incredible. And the offensive line is, penalties are just weird, and eventually that's going to get figured out. But there were times where Mahomes was like, he had all day, 10 seconds to stand there. And if he gets that, and if we clean up the penalties, we are going to be Super Bowl bound. It's just going to be in a way that we've never seen before, and that's maybe a little bit disconcerting for fans. But I'd much rather have a team with Patrick Mahomes that still will always have a chance to be in games. And now you add on top of that a defense that always has a chance to go out there and stop drives and then let Pat do his thing. We're going to be just fine. So only weird games, man. Stuff happens. But this is normally a game that we lose. Look at Indy last year. We couldn't stop a drive to save our lives. And now all of a sudden, we were able to stop the bleeding. Last point, 7 minutes, 24 seconds left to go in the game. We get the ball back. We run out the clock.
Yep.
When is the first? That's the first time that we've ever done that in the Mahomes career. Incredible. I'm excited. I want to see, can the wide receivers mature? Can they move forward? It's going to be an interesting year, but it's definitely going to be a very exciting year. We're just going to win differently. That's it. Have a good one.
Zach, I appreciate the call. Good stuff there, man, across the board. I think my disconcerted level is so enormously based in the fact that Zach Wilson looked like a good quarterback against this defense that it is hard for me to properly evaluate things around it, which is not an excuse, just an explanation. Because you're right, especially the ability to close out the game at the end, both killing the clock and getting the defensive stop, unlike what we never saw from that Indy game, I think are both really excellent notes. Specifically that I wasn't even ever doubting, is the defense going to find a way to get off the field one of these times? I wasn't even concerned about that. I just believe that eventually they were going to be able to get a stop, or that Zach Wilson was going to eventually make a mistake. I think you're absolutely right that this is a great defensive unit they just went up against, maybe the best the Chiefs will see all year. I think that is still a good and useful way and a good and useful time to measure where those young receivers are at right now. And it feels like, if not a step backward in a meaningful sense, it feels like a reason to recalibrate our expectations for these young receivers. But I do think it's interesting to see the number of data points across the different levels of competition and to see where they all end up. But a lot of great points across the board there, Zach. Appreciate the call. Next up, we go to Gary. Gary, you're on 810. What's up, Gary? How you feeling?
I think we call tonight's game a WTF game. I just don't know what I saw, but, you talk about the Jets offense. Let's look at Nathaniel Hackett. two of the Broncos' best offensive games last year were against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
So he knew what he was going up against. Now, he knew how to prepare for this defense. He knew what to expect. And that's the thing. Like I said, the Broncos had two of their better offensive games last year. They both came against Spagnuolo, and who was the offensive coordinator, the head coach of the Broncos last year. So he knew what he was going up against. A note to George Karlaftis.
Mm-hmm.
Quarterback pressures are like shots on goal in hockey. If you're not getting them, they're useless. I mean, sacks get paid, pressures don't. I think it's great that he can get back there and rush them, but if the quarterback still got the ball in his arms and he's still able to make a play with it, the pressure's meaningless. He's got to put the quarterback on the ground. He's a step slow. He's not a freak athletically. He's just a guy that's going to rely on his motor, and just like the guy they drafted this year, and that's what I want to get at with the skill positions. You know, you look at the draft, going back to this year, you talk about the short to intermediate game having problems. How nice would it be to have a Sam Laporta or a Michael Mayer out there next to Travis Kelce in that short to intermediate game where he could be open like that? Instead, you draft a defensive end who's, and I'm going to say it, I don't think he's ever going to be anything special. He's just going to be a guy. But, you know, you can look back at that. And do the Chiefs have a phobia against receivers from big-time programs? Because if you look at some of the receivers we've passed on in recent drafts, they all come from big-time programs, and the two guys that they're counting on aren't from big-time programs, and they've never seen it all. And you look at who the leading receiver for this team was last year. Where did he go to school? USC, big-time program. I just don't know if the Chiefs have a thing against that, but when you look at some of the guys they passed on, they're Power 5 guys that they've just let go on by, and it's just kind of head-scratching to me if they would avoid guys from those kind of programs, guys that can make plays, have been in those moments and are just better athletically than nothing against Sky Moore and Rashee Rice, and better hands, because none of these receivers are showing the hands. And as far as MVS goes, he needs to pick it up a little because he's supposed to be the alpha in this room this year. And you talk about all the different receivers in this room, you know, it's great to have all those different flavors, but if I'm a quarterback, when I'm going into the ice cream shop, I'm getting my favorite flavor every time, or I'm going to look for that flavor every time. I'm not going to be looking to spread it around to different flavors. I'll hang up and listen. Great show.
Gary, some good stuff in there that I think is really interesting. Even as I always like to pick my thing that I'm like, I don't know with you here. I'm kind of in on George Karlaftis, even though you said something there that we were talking about kind of a little bit tongue-in-cheek throughout the game, which is, hey, if George Karlaftis is like a freak athlete in addition to everything else, he does have a couple of sacks tonight that he doesn't get because of that last step. On Karlaftis, I think it's going to be a matter of properly evaluating who he is and what he's supposed to be. So figuring out how you calibrate that will be something over time. I am confident that Chiefs fans across the board are all going to be very glad George Karlaftis is on their football team for years to come. I think he's a nice football player. FAU, work in progress, real young guy. We'll see where he ends up. I hear you. The big program thing is interesting because I don't know the answer to that one. When we talk about, specific guys who they've passed on, it wasn't because he was a bigger program guy, a George Pickens or whatever. It's other things, X, Y, or Z. I don't know if that ends up being a common thread for a reason or if that's just a total coincidence, but I do think it's intriguing. My one theory would be that the Chiefs look at smaller school receivers and say, hey, we are more confident in what we see from you and being able to help you make that translate to the NFL level, so we're going to get a better receiver out of value. But I think you have less developed at that point, so it is a little bit of a bigger risk and a bigger gamble. So it's an interesting thing to keep in mind, and I'm kind of feeling it on the hey, lots of flavors of ice cream. That's all well and good, but if I'm Patrick Mahomes, I want to know where chocolate is. I want to know where cookies and cream is, whatever your favorite flavor might be. I don't always need that Baskin-Robbins every flavor under the sun. Sometimes I just would like to know that tub over there is delicious, and I'm throwing it that way. I do like that analogy a lot. Next up here, we got Butch. Butch, you're on 810. What's up, Butch? How you feeling?
Hey, gentlemen. Man, shout out to Gary. I like the guy, but come on, my guy. Go ahead and put a smile on your face. How about those Chiefs, man?
How about him, Butch? I love it when you guys go back-to-back. I really do.
Oh, wow. Okay. How about this? All right. Can I remind people, you know what we do? I'm guilty of this too. what happens when you go on Twitter and you look at this game? Oh, man, it's Zach Wilson. Man, he's a bum. The Chiefs should be able to blow him out 3-4. You know what? We start to believe this stuff.
Yeah,
We
I
really
believed
think
it,
a professional
Butch.
football team is going to go out here and blow out every team they play, or a team that is presupposed to be bad because they've seen a professional quarterback have some bad games of his career. He is an actual professional quarterback. And unlike the Chicago Bears, that team you just played has all pros on their team. They have actual talent. So when you match that actual talent with a game from a QB that's playing for his career, guys, you're going to get games like this, especially on prime time on the road. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you a couple things I liked before I leave. Let's go ahead and pump some sunshine if we can. Gentlemen, tackle over is working. The diversity in the run game is working.
Yeah.
First half against Chicago last week, they ran tackle over halfback belly to Isaiah Pacheco. He gets a touchdown in the red zone. This game, they run it from about the 50-yard line. Isaiah Pacheco on a counter from tackle over. He gets 30-plus yards and a touchdown on it. Man, that's what I like to see. You take the pressure off of your ability to not get to the outside against those guys. By the way, those guys on the outside, DJ Reed, Sauce Gardner, they're pretty good.
Pretty good.
This wasn't going to be the game where your receivers are going to pop up with 120 yards. Those verticals were going to get topped. Go ask Josh Allen how that worked. Look, man, I'll say that. I say all that to say this. When you look at this game, top to bottom, the beauty of what we have going on here is the beauty of, I hate to continue to compare them to the New England Patriots, but the Patriots dynasty, those years with those teams, they had to figure out what they were from time to time. And the Chiefs are still trying to figure it out. They're still figuring out the pieces. They realize that they have a right tackle. They want to put 5 in the pattern and keep their tackles on an island. Sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. They're still figuring out those key moments, when and where to push the button on their creativity and their structure on offense to make the stuff work out, man. And I think games like this, when you end up playing good teams in games that maybe you probably would have lost in the past, you come out winning them, that strengthens your armor. That puts you in a position once you get to the playoffs to go back and say, hey, remember those 3, 4, 5 plays that separated us from another team that probably should have been in the playoffs had their quarterback stayed healthy? We're going to revert back to that to help us beat the Buffalo Bills when we face them in the AFC Championship and ultimately beat them to go to another Super Bowl and win it. So savor the flavor on that.
Butch, appreciate it as always, my friend. It's just, I think that's all good, and I think the running game stuff is an excellent point. We talked about that a little bit early on. We talked about this some last week. I think this might be the game that in 5 or 6 weeks we look back and go, oh man, I forgot about that Jets game. Yeah, Taylor Swift was there, right? That one was weird. But I think that the flavor needs to be savored a little bit, Butch. I appreciate that as always. Next up, we got Matt. Matt, you're on 810. How you feeling, Matt?
I'm feeling good. Thanks, brother. Hey, I just like the last caller, I think we need to take a step back. Our defense is playing out of their minds. They had one bad quarter and one bad drive after the half. Other than that, they played. How many points do they allow in the second half after the first drive in the third quarter? 0. So they shut down the Jets offense. And I think we need to take a step back and realize that we got into a rock fight and we figured out a way to win.
Yep.
And doing that is going to build confidence even more with the team. They were really good defense that's had a horrible offense that they have on their team. So their defense is not going to look as good as they really are from game to game because they have a horrible offense that they are paired with. So just because they had a good quarter, basically, on offense, doesn't mean that we should be looking into it and saying, oh, God, yeah, the Chiefs look really bad tonight. The Chiefs still controlled the whole fourth quarter, took the lead, and we seem to forget that the Chiefs never were losing in this game.
Yep.
At all, right?
Mm-hmm.
They tied it, yeah, a little bit disconcerting.
Stressful tie. Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, but in the end, they took it. They could have easily won by 10.
Yes, they should have.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what are we thinking at the end of the day? But if we go back we get into the playoffs and we look back at our schedule at the end of the year, is anyone going to really care that we only won by 3 points?
No.
Tonight? No. All they're going to see is a W, and that's all the NFL cares about. Right?
Yep.
So, in the end, I think we needed pause. We got into a rock fight. It happens. Look at last year against Indy, and we lost, right? This year, we won, right? So as I'm marking it up, we've gotten into a couple of rock fights this year, and we're 50%. How many times are the Chiefs going to, lose in a rock fight? Well, considering what their past history is over the last 6 years, they're going to win the majority of those games, right? And it is the NFL. They get into rock fights. I mean, look at Dallas last week with Arizona, a team that's tanking, right?
Yep,
and
absolutely.
they lost. And then they come back and dominate today. Everyone seems to forget about the week before, right? So, and ultimately, in the end, nobody's going to give a crap that the Chiefs struggled for a quarter and a drive at the end when they, ultimately end up with, if we stick to a 3-1 record every quarter of the season, right, we're going to end up 12-5, 13-4 at worst, right? So let's all take a step back. Let's calm down. Let's not overanalyze it. Let's think about the ultimate big picture, and a W is a W in the NFL, right?
Absolutely right, Matt. I appreciate the call. I think you're absolutely correct, and I'll say this as well. Again, thanks for the phone call. I think this is going to be something we have to keep in mind, that I'm keeping in mind now. The reason that this game feels as ugly as it feels is because it was 17-0, and then it was suddenly, oh God, we're tied at 20? 17-0 to 2020 is not a score balance that you are comfortable with when the opposing quarterback is Zach Wilson. However, a few things that go into that are 2 terrible mistake interceptions from Patrick Mahomes, one of which directly turned into a touchdown, some underwhelming field goal drives, bunch of punts, a second half that was about killing the clock as much as it was about scoring points in the back end. Absolutely something to all of that. I think this game feels worse than it was because my end, to use Butch's word here, my end flavor from this game is not a particularly savorable one, but I also never actually thought they were going to lose this game. I did never ever consider it to be a terribly strong possibility. I have the Chiefs -4.5 live line bet to prove it. Mahomes should have just taken that one in. Last call for at least a little bit here before we'll take a break, come back. We'll hear from Drew Tranquil, Andy Reid, and Patrick Mahomes, and then Matt Derrick of Chiefs Digest along all that as well. But Dan is still on the line. Dan, close us out. How you feeling, man?
I'm doing great, Joshua. How you doing? I say Pacheco big 950 yards and a touchdown. Noah Gray with a touchdown on the big play. And I say the defense really did a good job. Even though Zach Wilson, I was making for the one mistake. I didn't think it was going to be the fumble snap.
Yep.
But he showed me something tonight, Zach. Someone wants to know Joe Namath should not be criticizing him now for at least a week. And let's see. Take care of the Vikings. Take care of yourself, Joshua.
Dan, I appreciate it, and I'm with you, man. I mean, I hate to say it because I was also right there being a hater, but yeah, I feel like Joe Namath's got to get off Zach Wilson's bleep for at least a week. Give him at least one. He played some okay football out there tonight against what I still do certainly believe is a very good Chiefs defense. Just a weird game. Not that that's anything that we shouldn't already have been expecting. We'll take a timeout. We'll hear from Drew Tranquil, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Matt Derrick 4 very important contributors to the cause of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk to them, hear from them over the remainder of the show. A lot more to break down here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show.
You're listening to live postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
When summer temperatures get extreme, your house needs a Champion premium system that keeps your family comfortable and cool. Go to championhomecomfort.com and don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, never compromising, championhomecomfort.com. Tito's handmade vodka on game day? Pour me in, coach. From a seat in the stands to the best seat on the couch. Root for your favorite team with your favorite team spirit. No matter who's on your roster, lineup, or lucky jersey, make Tito's your first-round bottle pick. Whose house? Tito's house. Find cocktail recipes for every fan at titosvodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof. Crafted to be savored responsibly.
For today's show and tell, I present my phone. It's made with glass and various metals I can't pronounce. It's powered by Xfinity Mobile, so my family saves big. Take a handout.
Colin, what are these?
I'm quizzing the class on the material.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile and save hundreds a year with the best price for 2 lines of unlimited. Just $30 a line a month. Visit XfinityMobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Unlimited intro service and Xfinity Internet required. Taxes and fees extra. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
Join us on Saturday, October 7th for the second annual Carrie's Denim Dash 5K and Fun Run in honor of Carrie Berger. Carrie's Denim Dash is dedicated to helping local teens and young adults receive drug and alcohol treatment who would not be able to afford it otherwise. Last year, the event raised over $50,000, which helped 50 local teens get the proper care they needed. The event will continue after the race with a live raffle, booths from sponsors, and more. Don't forget to wear your denim. To learn more and register to run, visit our website at carriesdenim-org.
Tom Williams for Guaranteed Foods. Did you buy a membership to save on food? Now you spend more on club store impulse buys than you save on the food? If you really want the best food value, do what thousands have done. Call Guaranteed Foods, America's finest home food service. For great food, better value, and no impulse buying, it's Guaranteed Foods, official sponsor of Family Mealtime since 1958. Find out why at GuaranteedFoods.com, then give us a call, 913-888-5000, Guaranteed Foods.
Because of you, a high school student who has low vision packs for college. Because of you, a husband and father with a permanent eye injury brings home a paycheck. Because of you, a senior with advanced macular degeneration cooks dinner, balances her checkbook, and walks to the park. All of these accomplishments reflect your gifts in action. 100% of all donations directly impact Envision's programs and services. With your help, Envision can help to create a life of independence and fulfillment. If you would like to learn more about Envision or find out how you can help, visit helpenvision.com.
The Kansas City Chiefs are back in prime time against the New York Jets on Sunday night, and we'll be live to break down all the action immediately after the game goes final. I'm Joshua Brisco, and as soon as the final whistle blows, we'll begin the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show, where we'll take your calls, bring you press conferences live from New York, chat with Matt Derrick, and discuss every detail in the Chiefs showdown with the Jets. It all begins immediately after Chiefs-Jets on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show on your home for the NFL, Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Sometimes owning a house can be a problem, an ugly problem. Repairs, taxes, just mowing the yard. What we've learned is with every ugly problem, there's a beautiful solution. 1-800-44-BUYER or WeBuyUglyHouses.com. We're the real ugly house guys.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-509-3124. That's 800-509-3124. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-509-3124 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Halfway through the fourth.
City. It had been such a good night for Zach Wilson, and a mistake there with the snap. And the dance moves belong to the defense for the Chiefs.
The defense needed a big play. They found it there. That's our defensive play of the game, brought to you by Schlegel Fence. Schlegel Fence, as Kansas City's preferred fence company, has been serving the KC metro areas for over a decade, offering security and style. Call 816-863-6159 or go to schlegelfence.com for your free estimate. It really did just feel like it was going to be a matter of time before there was a Zach Wilson mistake, a Zach Wilson turnover. That ends up being the one there. And then with 7.5 minutes left, there was certainly no guarantee that the game was going to get locked up around then. But it was, because the Chiefs milked the clock and took it from there. Again, as a little testament as to where we stand with the Chiefs defense, I believed that play was coming, and frankly, even as a bit of an optimist about where this team stands on a lot of things, if the defense would have given up a field goal there, I think it would have just been a field goal, and I would have been happy to see the Chiefs driving down to have to just go get some points. We clearly saw the way that it ended up going. They had a touchdown. Mahomes just slid short to go ahead and ice the game there instead of keeping it all in action, which is fine. And it's still a good football team. We saw the Jets just look better than we had seen them look in recent weeks. I think that's a little bit disconcerting, a little bit alarming. I still have my concerns about the young wide receivers, but ultimately a team victory and a good stand by the Chiefs defense. We'll shortly hear from Drew Tranquil, one of the members of the defense, 2 games in a row at that Mike linebacker spot without Nick Bolton. And that's going to be our locker room report presented by Twin Peaks.
Patrick Mahomes' press conference. The Chiefs locker room report is brought to you by Twin Peaks. No one does football like Twin Peaks. Whatever your preference, they have everything from tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls. Local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu, second to none. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts at Twin Peaks.
Let's hear from Drew Tranquil as he spoke to the media following the Chiefs' victory in New York.
Yeah, we didn't spy him for 4 years, and we paid the price heavily.
What did you see from their offense that may have gave the defense a trouble tonight?
Well, first, I'd like to give hats off to Zach Wilson, the Jets offense, their OC Hackett. They had a great plan, and for as much criticism as they've taken, I thought Zach came out and made some really, really good throws. I thought he competed, and I thought their entire offense competed. The world champs coming into your house, and the way they competed down 14 or 17 points, hats off to those guys. They really gave us a tough battle tonight. It was a good one.
Drew, what does it do for you to win a game like this, kind of grind it out as opposed to putting it away early?
Yeah, I think to be a world champion, you have to be able to win in a lot of different styles, and every game is going to be different. Last week, we jumped out to a big lead against Chicago, and we're able to hold on to that and kind of make them one-dimensional on offense. This week, we jump out to a big lead. Suddenly, their defense bows up, gets a safety. We're on our heels. Pat throws a couple interceptions. They get a couple turnovers, playing good ball on defense. And now we're forced in a tough game, close game there in the fourth quarter. So you just got to learn to win a lot of different ways, and we were able to do that tonight.
You guys recovered that fumble. There was like 7.5 minutes left, and you didn't have to go back on the field. What's that like watching the offense kill that much time?
Well, that's why 15 is the greatest in the world. Is even on a night when he throws 2 or 3 picks, whatever it was, for him to be able to convert on 3rd and 20 with his legs, for him to be able to convert on 3rd and 8 down there to close out the game. It speaks to the toughness of our offensive line. It speaks to the toughness and the grit of the entire offensive personnel, and then the belief this organization has in 1-5 to get the job done. He was able to get it done. Outstanding job by the offense there in the fourth quarter to close the game out.
Drew, was there something that happened, changed, like the turning point after the safety? Was there something that the offense was doing that you saw differently after that?
I just think it's a game of momentum, and I think the Jets were able to capitalize with some momentum there. They get 2 points. They get a turnover. They get a field goal. Now they're feeling it a little bit. Zach makes some incredible throws. They get down there in the goal line. They have some great play calls. Suddenly the game's 12 to 20 or 12 to 17, whatever it is, and it's a close ball game. So I think it's a game of momentum, and they were able to capitalize on the big plays they made tonight.
What did you guys do to kind of come back, obviously, after halftime? Was there something you guys did differently or adjusted?
Well, I think defensively, right, they got us on our heels a little bit there towards the end of the first half. We were able to bow up there in the 2-minute, get the sack there to kind of end things and not let them get points on the board. I think the biggest thing with Spags came in the locker room and says, hey, we still have to play with the confidence and trust in one another that we've had throughout this entire season. And I think you saw that come out there in the second half, and we were able to close the door on them.
Jesse, hey, Drew, I don't know if you were around, but Andy said that Pat said something in the locker room to the guys after his 2 interceptions. If you were around, what'd you hear from him? And if not, I guess what'd you see from him after those 2 interceptions?
You talking about in the locker room after the game?
Or halftime, he said after the 2 interceptions, he just was talking to guys.
I think he just said, I've got your back, and I think everybody believes him when he says that, right? He's the best. He's the best at position. And whenever he has the ball in his hands, we have a belief that he's going to get the job done.
Drew, you talked about Zach a little bit. He had some up and downs, the first couple games of the season. Did he do anything special today?
Man, he played with good moxie, with good poise. He made some throws into some tight windows. One there on me to the tight end, back shoulder down the seam, incredible throw. I think he threw one on our other linebacker, Leo Chenal, great throw, back shoulder throw, and then he gets the throw to the tight end in the end zone to complete the drive. Was able to get the ball to Garrett Wilson, their best playmaker. And I thought, schematically they did a good job of getting him quick rhythm throws to get him going. But when it came down to it, he had to stand in the pocket a few times and make some tough throws downfield, and he did that. And I think we should all respect him for that. He got gutsy performance against the world champs coming in his house tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Drew Tranquil, even press conferences like a middle linebacker. I mean, that is a quarterback of the defense at the podium right there. But he's right. I mean, in a lot of ways, it was an impressive performance from Zach Wilson, at least judging on the Zach Wilson scale of recent weeks and recent years. And overall, that defense did do plenty to keep the Chiefs in the game. And then Mahomes is able to, as Drew Tranquil said a couple times there, be the best in the world, keeping that drive open with his legs and being an absolute force there offensively. The Chiefs kill 7.5 minutes and get out of New Jersey with a 3-point victory. We'll take another quick timeout here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. Joshua Brisco, Dylan Michaels, and Covell Hudson with you here for the evening. We'll hear from Andy Reid when we come back here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
You're listening to live postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
At Ace, their helpful folks know you've got everyday things you need to take care of around the house. But did you know they can help with your business too? Find all of their locations online at westlakehardware.com. Running your business just got easier with Westlake Commercial.
Greenlight Dispensary is proud to offer convenient online ordering for those on the go. Anyone 21 and older with any valid state ID can place an order for pickup through greenlightdispensary.com and pick it up at your favorite location's drive-thru or grab-and-go window. Greenlight is known for our knowledgeable budtenders who cater to users of all experience levels. With a large variety of flour, concentrates, edibles, drinks, accessories, and more. Loyalty rewards accumulate with every purchase and can be used for any product in store. So stop by Greenlight Dispensary or go to greenlightdispensary.com today.
Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m., it's the KC Legends Show with myself, Sterling Holmes, live from Hollywood Casino. My special guest this Monday, former Pro Bowl defensive lineman and broadcaster Bill Moss. Myself and Bill will break down the Jets game and preview the upcoming game against the Minnesota Vikings. There's no better place than inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets, featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs for viewing the best games. See you Monday from 6 to 7 p.m.
Hey, Kansas City, Stephen St. John here. Let me tell you about my incredible experience with Border Magic. They just installed stunning custom concrete landscape edging around our entire home. Our landscaping now looks like a work of art. This concrete landscaping edging will improve your curb appeal and enhance your property value. I would recommend Border Magic to anyone. Check out images of their work at southkc.bordermagic.com. Border Magic, a perfect cost-effective way to create a gorgeous first impression of your home. Call Border Magic today.
I'm with Brad McGee from LBA Home Services. So, doing a furnace tune-up today?
That's right.
I see you've got these gadgets and gizmos with you. What are they for?
To check the performance. No point in doing a tune-up if you don't measure the result.
Well, that makes sense, but how do you know you've made a difference?
When we're done, your furnace should be operating at factory specifications.
You mean running perfectly, but what about older systems?
It makes no difference. Furnaces don't grow old like people do. They're machines. There's no reason we can't get it running perfect.
But what if you do the tune-up and it's not up to factory specs?
Then there's something that needs to be repaired. The technicians at LBA, absolute perfectionists. Either your system is running the way it's supposed to, or it isn't.
You mean perfect.
Everyone at LBA thinks this way.
And that's why you measure your results.
If you don't measure, you're guessing, and you can't guess your way to perfection.
One simple idea, one name to remember.
Just remember LBA.
LBAservices.com.
The Overland Park RV Show is back. Come to the Overland Park Convention Center October 5th through the 8th and see new RVs from many of your local RV dealers, including Olathe Ford RV Center, Liberty RV, Ottawa RV, Laird Noller RV Super Center, and Trailside RV Center. The Overland Park RV Show runs October 5th to the 8th, and parking is free. Go to kcrvda.com to purchase your tickets before it's too late and use the promo code RVLIFE to get $2 off. That's kcrvda.com.
Pacheco almost got in the backfield. Instead, into the open field and accelerating. Pacheco in for the touchdown. The Jersey Kid back in his home state for 6.
Sometimes the running backs are the stars, and sometimes it's the guard that's the star. Watch number 65, Trey Smith, right here. Wham! Talking about opening up a hole, and then Pacheco, you forget how fast he is. That is one of their corners, DJ Reid, giving chase to no avail.
A tremendous run from Isaiah Pacheco. That's our sweet play of the game, brought to you by Andy's Frozen Custard. Introducing Cannoli Thunder Concrete at Andy's Frozen Custard. This Italian stallion of flavors is made with fresh vanilla frozen custard, crispy cannoli shells, sweet cream filling, and chocolate chips. Go to eatandys.com for the location nearest you. That's eatandys.com. It really was a blast, as it always is, to watch Isaiah Pacheco in the open field, to see him moving up and down that gridiron in the way that truly is unique to perhaps only him. I don't know what makes a guy the best runner or the most fun runner or the most explosive runner in football, but I certainly consider Pacheco to be amongst my absolute favorite to watch, just with the football in his hands. Always a blast to see him having an effort like he did tonight. And again, against a good Jets defense, that is something the Chiefs are able to do relatively successfully, relatively consistently. I saw a tweet at some point of somebody saying, hey, look, I mean, the Chiefs had 1 sack and 200 yards rushing against the Jets. That's a hell of a day for the offensive line and for the running game. I'm gonna poke a real small hole in that just as a part of the overall larger evaluation. 1, stats are kind of a quarterback stat, and Mahomes was buying time and finding his way into space frequently. I'll be interested to see on a rewatch, was he bailing from clean pockets? There were some occasions where he was definitely not bailing from clean pockets. But also, 50 of those rushing yards came from Mahomes. Those count, and they're good, but it's not the way the play's drawn up. 3rd and 22. Everything takes forever. Guys get way downfield. Your O-line buys you time. That's wonderful. But then Mahomes just had a 25-yard sprint to get his way into space and to move the chains. So, look, the almost 6 yards per carry from Pacheco, totally legit, 1,000%. The little Sky Moore kind of end around stuff, legit. Jarrett McKinnon, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not big days, not a ton of work, but those are real carries. So Mahomes gets a lot of the credit, both in the running game and in the sack avoidance. But still, that's a wonderful thing to see from Isaiah Pacheco. It'll also be good to hear from the Chiefs head coach, to hear what Andy Reid thinks about the entire team's effort, but certainly the offensive effort first and foremost. The head coach's press conference is brought to you by Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia and Westlake Hardware. First, Robert Brogdon's Olathe Buick GMC and Olathe Kia. Get a worry-free money-back guarantee on new vehicles when you buy from Brogdon. Visit BrogdonAutomotive.com. Also brought to you by Westlake Commercial, a division of Westlake A's Hardware. It's your business-to-business supply partner. Their commercial team, dedicated business-to-business website, credit terms, and convenient store locations make it easy. Visit your local Westlake Ace Hardware store or westlakehardware.com/commercial today. We'll start from the top with Andy Reid getting his opening statements and the injury report following the Chiefs' 23-20 victory over the New York Jets.
All right. We just had one injury there, so Cole Christensen pulled his hamstring, so he'd be the only one to mention. Proud of our guys for battling through the night. There were some changes in momentum there. We were able to get it back and did a nice job of swinging things back the right way. And if I had to pick somebody out there, I'd pick Pacheco out for the nice job that he had tonight, and then for our corners for figuring out what they were doing and shutting them down. So it was good all the way around there. Anyways, with that, time's yours.
Don't know if that meant a game ball for Isaiah Pacheco. I would imagine it did. Again, you go back to the home state, even though, again, he was more of an Eagles fan, South Jersey, all of that, as opposed to the Meadowlands and whatnot. But again, home state and the biggest offensive performance of the night, and I think probably just the performance of the night for the Chiefs from Isaiah Pacheco, or as Andy Reid's been calling him the whole time he's been here, Pacheco. And maybe he's right. I don't know, but I'm pretty much have my roots set on Pacheco. Maybe I don't know if the Chiefs tell me it's Pacheco. I'll follow Andy Reid there as well. But a huge night for him. What about from the quarterbacking side, though? This chunk of audio has plenty of back and forths, questions and answers with Andy Reid, but a lot having to do with Mahomes, both the good and the bad, starting with that last scramble.
Yeah, that was a good one. We had something else called, but it was a good job by him. And you can see how competitive he is. And he knew he was off a tick that first half, got back on it, and did a nice job the second half.
We don't see him struggle that often, but how did you see him respond after the 2 interceptions?
Yeah, it was great. He said something during halftime. He said, we'll figure it out here, and I'll get it right, and he did. So.
What was impressive about Pacheco tonight?
Yeah. Excuse me. How hard he ran. My voice is gone. Might have to call this off.
The last drive takes up 7 minutes and 24 seconds, but it only goes about 40 yards.
Best looking water girl in the league.
But 7 minutes, but only takes up half the field. How impressed with you?
Yeah.
To be able to take up all that time, but not go that far.
Yeah, that was important. That fourth quarter, we had the ball quite a bit. That's a good defense too. That's one of the better defenses in the National Football League. So they do a great job there. And their quarterback, for a BYU guy, he was on fire. I'm proud of him for that.
They really gave you a battle there that entire game. This game play out any differently than maybe what you were expecting coming into it at all?
I didn't expect the high and the low part of it. We started off like gangbusters and had a lot of yards, and then between turnovers and some penalties, it changed up a little bit. But, that's a loaded question. So I'm always expecting our guys to do good. So.
The details there on Andy Reid having a little bit of his voice going and getting the water there, and the best-looking water girl in the league, as he said there. Jesse Newell, who's out there covering the game for the Kansas City Star, tweeted, Andy Reid was struggling with a cough during the postgame press conference. His wife, Tammy, brought a water bottle up to the podium for him. Quote, best-looking water girl in the league, he said with a smile. So there's your the surrounding context for something that may have been confusing there, just audio only. Nothing confusing about his answer of the expectations in the game. He's right that there's a little bit of a loaded question. It makes it sound vengeful, which I certainly don't think the question asker was being tricky about it. But it's a loaded question because you're kind of wondering, making me say hey, did I think the Jets were going to roll over? No, but whatever. But surprised by the highs and the lows of the performance, I think is an interesting little extra note for what Andy Reid was focusing on there. And he did mention, the BYU guy, Zach Wilson, being on fire for a good chunk of the game. Here, Andy Reid talks again about a whole bunch of stuff. Hopefully got the voice all figured out, and starts off by talking a little bit about Zach Wilson and how he played compared to Andy Reid's expectations.
Yeah. Well, we know he's a good athlete. He's got a big arm. We know that he's got the talent there. He's a young guy, and it's hard to have patience in New York. I know that. I understand.
How proud are you of the defense? After that safety, they got down, inside the 10, held a field goal.
Yeah.
They missed the field goal as well.
Yeah, field position we weren't putting him in great field position, but we defensively we kind of had our back to the wall after that first series, and the guys, they bowed up there. Very nice.
Andy, one of the big plays was that hold on MVS that Sauce Gardner had. What did you see on that one?
Yeah, listen, I thought it was a hold. I've got to go back and look at the tape on it. He was on the other side of the field, but they're aggressive, and so they're going to get a couple of those during the game. And, Sauce is as good as there is in the league. He might have had a little bit of fabric there.
Andy, you kind of touched on just Patrick Mahomes when things aren't working out for him. What clicks in his mind where he's going to find other ways to get it?
Yeah, he's just so competitive. Never gets down on himself that way. He has that, I'll fix it. I got it. We'll fix it. Just keep pounding. So, yeah, he's got that type of mentality.
Was there anything about Isaiah this week, knowing he's coming back home to New Jersey, playing in front of, in New Jersey, probably friends and family? Anything that you saw this week that you knew?
Yeah, he was excited to come back. He was very excited to come back. He's Jersey proud, man. So I haven't gone to Rutgers, grew up here, so on. So, but he had quite a night.
He certainly did. And look, I have to imagine that Isaiah Pacheco is excited to go to the grocery store every day or whatever. I imagine that he's probably pretty excited to get up and go to the bathroom in the morning. He just seems like he's excited all the time. So if you ever see Isaiah Pacheco and he doesn't seem excited to be somewhere, let me know, because that is going to be one of my signs of the apocalypse. But currently, of course, had extra juice going back to Jersey for that game tonight and putting out a fabulous effort. I imagine that he got the game ball from Andy Reid after putting a little bit of thought into it. I don't know for sure, but I do know what he can get. He can get the green light presented by Green Light Dispensary. He is absolutely my recipient there. Green Light Dispensary, outstanding customer service, superior product, and continuously voted Missouri's best. Open from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 7 days a week. Find a location near you at greenlightdispensary.com. That's their menu, their hours, their locations, everything near you at greenlightdispensary.com. We'll take a break here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. I am Joshua Brisco. Dylan Michaels on the other side of the glass, and Covell Hudson producing all around the building. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back and hear from Patrick Mahomes very shortly. We'll talk to Matt Derrick coming up, plus continue to break down a few more of the tidbits from this game. It's an interesting, weird victory for the Kansas City Chiefs, winning now in 23-20 over the Jets. More postgame next.
You're listening to live postgame coverage on Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, but what about your fence? Slagle Fence has you covered. Slagle Fence has the expertise and outstanding service to make sure your fence decision is an easy one. Slagle Fence is your own defense against a handyman that promises the world. The best part of Slagle Fence is they offer competitive prices that won't break the bank. Call Slagle Fence for your free estimate today. Now that's some defense. 816-863-6159 or slaglefence.com.
I'm Dr. Andrew Palmisano, a fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon with Acentus Healthcare. Acentus now has orthopedic surgery and sports medicine. Myself and Drs. E.J. Wilkinson and Nick Aberly are available for all of your orthopedic needs. Come see our state-of-the-art clinics during our walk-in hours featuring same-day and next-day appointments, Monday through Friday in Leawood and on Parallel Parkway in Kansas City. Call 913-395-0294, 913-395-0294 to book your appointment at Acentus Healthcare today.
Hear exclusive Chiefs coverage every week from the best in the business. Only on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Trent Green, Adam Schefter, Tim Grunhard, Adam Teicher, Matt Derrick, Adam Kaplan, Chef Chadilla, Nick Lecky, Gary Barnett, Bill Moss, Mark Bowraker, Stan Weber, Sam McDowell, Seth Kaiser, Blair Kirkhoff, Kevin Harlan, Field Yates, Jesse Newell, Cynthia Freeland, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Are you in the market for a luxury vehicle that combines exquisite craftsmanship with unbeatable performance? Look no further than J. Wolf Acura, Kansas City's premier family-owned and operated luxury vehicle dealership. Visit go.jwolfacura.com. Go Acura.
Kevin Harlan here. Ann and I loved our new Champion heating and cooling system this past summer.
Our house was always a perfect temperature, and it was so quiet. The humidity control worked like a champion.
And Annie, our energy savings and lower bills came true just like Champion said they would.
Now we're looking forward to keeping our family warm this winter with our Champion Premium Furnace.
Find your local Champion dealer at championhomecomfort.com, and don't forget to ask about their free 10-year parts and labor warranty. Always leading, championhomecomfort.com.
Tito's Handmade Vodka on game day? Pour me in, coach. Find cocktail recipes for every fan at titosvodka.com. 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
For today's show and tell, I present my phone. It's made with glass and various metals I can't pronounce. It's powered by Xfinity Mobile, so my family saves big. Take a handout.
Colin, what are these?
I'm quizzing the class on the material.
Switch to Xfinity Mobile and save hundreds a year with the best price for 2 lines of unlimited. Just $30 a line a month. Visit XfinityMobile.com to learn more. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Unlimited Intro Service and Xfinity Internet required. Taxes and fees extra. Reduced speeds after 20 gigabytes of usage. Data thresholds may vary.
We are back with another week of football, and DraftKings Sportsbook is keeping us in on the NFL action with great offers every single game day. New customers can bet $5 and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Throw down $5 on any of this week's epic matchups to walk away an instant winner. And DraftKings isn't stopping there. All customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Football's more fun when you're in on the action. So download the app now and sign up with code 810WHB. New customers can bet just $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, with code 810WHB. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Kansas. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort.
Now at Menards, save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Give any room a fresh look with Mohawk flooring. Mohawk tile includes ceramic, porcelain, and mosaic glass tiles to fit any decor. Clean, Protect, Point Park Collection floor and wall tiles protect against bacteria. Just $159 each after 11% rebate. Get 11% off everything now at Menards. Good through October 8th. Savings are mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
Save big money at Menards.
Jamie Bluma here. Please join me for Blumapalooza number 10 on Saturday, October 14th at Borgmont Winery at 203rd and Quivira. There'll be a silent auction and raffle, an amazing musical lineup of Mark Brownlee Jr., Noe Palma, and Nashville star Daryl Worley. Shuttles will be running from Tanner's on 143rd from 5 p.m. to midnight. Red, White, and Bluma has raised over $400,000 over 9 years supporting military and local Kansas City charities. Go to blumapalooza.com for tickets.
Mahomes a chance. He's made 45 50-plus yard field goals in his career. Greg Sherlock off the upright and no good. And the Chiefs will get the ball with 2 timeouts in good field position. Their own 42.
A doink from Greg the Leg. Legatron. Doinks one. That is our ugly play of the game, brought to you by We Buy Ugly Houses. Owning a house can be a problem, an ugly problem. Repairs, taxes, mowing the yard. Let We Buy Ugly Houses be the solution. Call 1-800-44-BUYER or go to WeBuyUglyHouses.com. You know, I love it when we're talking about how important it is that, coaches, sometimes teams just gotta take the points. You got 3 points there. You just got to take them. 3 free points. 3 free, automatic, totally 100% guaranteed, absolute 3 points. Take them instead of going for it on fourth down, maybe moving the football in a more meaningful way, giving yourself an opportunity to beat a better team playing on your home field. Nope, not the way the Jets went, and frankly, the Chiefs and Andy Reid had a couple of fourth and shorts that I wouldn't have minded seeing some more aggression from, but I also do understand the opponent through it all. Again, I think that today ultimately will be remembered as the Chiefs winning a sort of uninspired game over the Jets, because unimpressive isn't quite fair. The Jets are just... The Jets are complicated because they were good enough to beat the Bills, who today, crushing the Dolphins, looked like the best team in football. But they beat the Bills in a game that started with Aaron Rodgers but barely had any Aaron Rodgers at all. Then they got throttled by the Cowboys, who got beat by the Cardinals but then looked dominant again today. And they lose to the Patriots by just a few points. The Patriots at times look a little bit frisky, and then today look like an absolute nightmare against that same Cowboys team. So are the Jets worse than the Cowboys and Patriots? And by you know the what's the mathematical term for one thing working for the other, the formula for, there's a specific word for it, but math was never my strong suit. Are the Jets worse than the Patriots and Cowboys, and by extension the teams they've lost to, or are they better than the Bills and so high flying that they could also, just like the Bills did, totally handle business against the Dolphins when they have to play them twice later this year? And the truth is, of course, it's somewhere in between. And there's not I got it, transitive property. That's the word I was looking for. That was the phrase. There's not a perfect transitive property that works throughout the entirety of the NFL. That's obviously not how it actually functions. But I do think that somewhere in that conflict is why this game is going to be a tough one to really pinpoint in terms of what matters, what doesn't. What's real, what isn't? What should we care about? What should we forget about as soon as we see our heads hit the pillow tonight? And that's why I've got my share of positives and my share of negatives. I do care that the Chiefs' young wide receivers basically turned to ghosts against a really good secondary. Now, the Chiefs might not play a secondary this good again the rest of the year. They may not have to actually clear that threshold in the playoffs. This might be as difficult as it comes. If that's the case, tremendous. We know what the floor looks like now. But there will be times where they go up against defenses that have good defensive backs. And is the offense going to look frustrated and constipated during that time? We've seen this defense look fantastic. I remain a believer. Giving up 18 points tonight. Obviously, 2 of those points were in the offense. So giving up 18 points defensively tonight isn't enough to totally shake me. It's not a horrible outing, and they had long stretches of holding their own. But they let Zach Wilson look like a competent NFL quarterback again. And that's also kind of weird. So should I feel good about the defense or bad about the defense? That is why this game, to me, more than anything else, I think this game is going to be remembered rightfully and reasonably. I think this game's going to be remembered as a game of conflicts. Because it doesn't all quite settle in to easy little labels that you could just slap on. All right, now the Chiefs are this, now the Jets are this. Now it's easy, now we move on. Which in that way is also kind of fun. But it's going to be weird, man. The next stretch of the next few games for the Chiefs as they get closer to Germany. They go from at New York to next week, excuse me. Next week going to Minnesota against a Kirk Cousins Vikings team that just has some of the most impossible to decode vibes anywhere in football. You talk about a weird team. Then they get the Broncos, who ripped victory out of the bare jaws of defeat. They get the Chargers, who continue to look like they don't necessarily want to win games, but keep being in games where someone has to win them. Then it's right back to the Broncos again, and then it's the Dolphins in Germany. And right now, the Chiefs and Dolphins both have one loss in common. Not that they lost to the same team, but they both have the shared fact of having one loss. And it sets up for a fascinating matchup that we're still just a long ways away from. It's kind of fun. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of chaotic. Welcome to the NFL and welcome to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City. Joshua Brisco, Dylan Michaels, and Covell Hudson with you here for the evening, breaking this all down. Dylan, I heard you hit a button over there and it made a noise in my headphone, but I didn't hear any words that you actually said. So can we start hearing from Patrick Mahomes? Let's go ahead and start doing that then. We'll hear from the quarterback himself, and the QB's press conference is brought to you by Kansas City Acura dealers. As our hometown team in red marches towards another epic year, visit your Kansas City your Kansas City area Acura dealers, and you can score jaw-dropping deals on new and pre-owned Acura models. Plus, get overpaid for your trade. Shop your Kansas City area Acura dealers. Thanks again to your Kansas City area Acura dealers. Time to hear from the QB himself, Patrick Mahomes, speaking to the media after the game, running the gamut here over a few topics, but beginning with his overall outlook on the Chiefs' victory.
I mean, it was definitely a fight. We came out hot, obviously struggled, made two just bad throws where I was trying to lay it over a linebacker and a safety, and I just didn't throw it far enough and hit the dude right in the chest. Stuff that you can't do. But I was proud of how the guys fought. I mean, obviously the defense kept us in it. And then the offense had two drives in the fourth quarter where we had sustained drives, and that's a good defense. So I'm proud of that, but obviously a lot to learn from and a lot to correct.
You guys killed the last, 7.5 minutes with the ball, similar to the way the Jacksonville game ended. Why have you guys been so good in those situations?
Yeah, it's just guys responding. Obviously, we didn't play to our level in that kind of that second, third quarter. But guys responded and kept just pushing. And that's good things to see. I mean, a little similar to last year. It's not always going to be pretty for 4 quarters, especially when you're playing a good defense like that. But whenever the opportunity arises, it's about going down there and finishing. And obviously we didn't do that the first game, and I'm glad that we've been able to do that in these last few.
It depends on what you do with this, right, whether it serves you well to have a game like this. But what do you feel like in some way it does, I don't know if it's a reality check, but what is it? What does the game do for you, you think?
Yeah, no, that's a good defense. I mean, I knew it was going to be a fight going against that defense. I thought it was kind of almost out of the norm to start that fast against them. But I think just learning, correcting, trying to learn from our mistakes. Obviously, I have to be better with the football. Can't turn it over and put that pressure on our defense. But they stepped up for me. And so it's football. It's NFL. And not everything's going to be easy. You have to find a way to win different ways. And I've learned that over my career.
That's certainly true. I mean, games do take on different identities all the time, and the more diverse ways you can win them, the better chance you're going to have of finding one of those ways that works on any given Sunday. But also, sometimes some wins are a little smoother and a little more fun than others. But you have to imagine if you're Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, you like to be able to prove that you can grind one out, right?
Yeah, no, proving you can grind it out. I think proving that you can have 2 or 3 quarters where you literally aren't scoring. You're not scoring. Nothing's going well. And how do you guys respond whenever the going gets tough? And I thought the guys responded well, and we were behind the chains a lot, even on those drives, and we were able to fight our way to get those first downs. And so it definitely was a tough battle, but I was glad we found a way to get the win.
What was the message from the coach at halftime?
I think it was just kind of let's just keep playing together, keep fighting. I knew, I took accountability on it. I knew I'd put us in 2 bad positions at the end of the half and in the early second quarter. And so I think just no one points fingers in that locker room. We all play together. Not everything's going to be pretty, but the guys responded, and we came together and found a way to get a win.
Patrick, you said that the guys responded. Andy said when you kind of get in that situation, you like to fix it. You like to fix things. How do you respond when things aren't working out the way that you're?
Yeah, I've just learned you can only control the next play. You can only go out there and do what you need to do for that next play. Nothing in the past matters. And I don't know if it's coming from Texas Tech or how I played growing up. It's just you keep throwing it. You keep putting it out there and let your guys have chances. You can't worry about interceptions that have happened in the past. You have to keep fighting, and that's something that I believe in. And obviously, I try to be more careful with the football. But at the same time, I have to be me. I have to go out there and give guys chances to make plays. That's what I try to do.
Of course, you talk about being you, right? And you pick up everyone when things aren't going right. But who picks you up? Is it the coach or is it another?
I think it's just the whole team. Honestly, it's everybody. No one ever points fingers on this team. I don't think not just me. I think at everybody. If something goes bad, you pick that guy up and you keep fighting. And that's why I think we've won a lot of football games here. Is that it doesn't always have to be perfect, but we're going to respond and have each other's back. And that's what makes great football teams.
Being able to have that both from your quarterback and for your quarterback is obviously a very important thing as you're figuring out what it takes to, win important and prime time and many football games. You've got to continue to have that ability to do it a number of different ways, like we talked about after the last clip. All that tied together here, kind of the theme of the night, it sounds like, for Patrick Mahomes. Next up here, we have the first question will be about being fired up after that last run when Mahomes scrambles for the first down, slides in bounds, and effectively kills the game there. We also talks about the interceptions, how the teams come around this first month of the season. But first, the scramble and the first down coming up and giving the first down sign to the crowd.
Yeah, we just needed that. We needed that play in that time. We're trying to get into field goal range. We're trying to do what we can to keep the defense off the field. They've been playing their tail off in that second half. I'm a little upset. I kind of stumbled. I was thinking I could maybe get around the side a little bit. But it was a big first down, and then we were able to kind of keep it moving down the field. I've told a lot of people, I'm faster than people think. I don't run pretty, so people think I'm slow, but I move a little bit better than people think.
Patrick, it's the two interceptions that you touched on briefly. It's kind of similar plays, it looked like. But I'm wondering if you could just take us through what you saw.
Yeah, it's just being greedy, man. Just got to throw the ball away. They covered both the plays well. But instead of just throwing the ball away, I try to make perfect throws where I tried the one to Noah. I saw the guy underneath it. I thought I could throw it to the sideline, him or nobody, maybe catch it on the sideline, first down. And obviously didn't throw it good enough, hit the dude right in the chest. And the same with Travis. We're in that situation where I'm trying to get at least Harrison in field goal range, and they're dropping for depth. And I thought Trav had beat his guy, but the whole player was there. And I thought I could throw it over him. And obviously I couldn't. And so he made a good play on it. And so it's just, you just got to know when you can take those chances. And obviously at those points in the game, I can't do that. I got to throw the football away and just live to play another play.
All right, we're going to go with these three gentlemen in the back. We're going to finish up here.
Patrick, are you satisfied with the way the team's come around here in the first month of the season?
Yeah, it's always good when you find ways to win. I think I've learned in my 6 or 7 years, it's you can win pretty, but you have to win ugly too in order to win Super Bowls. And so for me, it's always, even though I hate it that while it's happening, I feel like it makes you better in the end if you win games like this where not everything's going perfect. And so we did that last year, and we're going to try to do that again this year, and then try to keep getting better. And so we're playing our best football at the end of the season.
Interesting on the interceptions there, where I was curious to see if it was going to be anything other than just him throwing a couple of balls that he's unhappy with, and it really was just that. Also, not to pile on here, he's aware, but situationally terrible, both of them. Those were both, the second one was toward the very end of the half, so the Jets ended up getting the ball back, but not with much time to do anything with it. But both of those were the first plays of the drive. It wasn't like they were picks you threw on 3rd and 15 trying to make something happen downfield and you settle for an arm punt. Those were ugly, and you've now heard Mahomes' explanation for them. So interesting, and then kind of where the team stands now. Also, I think that was him talking about the 25-yard scramble, not the one that actually iced it there. But I'm not sure. He did a lot with his legs tonight, and when you can make Patrick Mahomes a true dual threat quarterback, I think that's an okay thing for the Chiefs. Here we have Mahomes talking about playing in MetLife Stadium for the first time. Isaiah Pacheco playing in front of that hometown crowd, and also yet another record on the table for Mahomes. But starting off with his first time playing in Jersey.
No, it was awesome, honestly. I got to come here for my first year twice, two times in 3 weeks, but obviously didn't get to play in the game. But the atmosphere was awesome Sunday night. I mean, from the intros all the way to the end of the game, the fans were in it. And my dad played for the Mets, and so I know the fans really support their teams. And so I was glad to be here and get to play in the same state and kind of the same type of fan base that my dad played in.
Follow up on that was like Isaiah Pacheco kind of coming back to New Jersey, just his game, the way he played today in front of the fans that he grew up with.
Yeah, no, he's I call him, he's Jersey's own, man. He went to Rutgers. He played in Jersey. He loves it. Kind of how I am with Texas. He has a lot of pride in it. And so I could see it from the first snap. You could see it in his eyes. Like, this meant more to him. And he did a great job catching the ball, running the ball. I mean, he put up great – I haven't looked at the stats. He put up great stats and made some big runs when we really needed them.
Last three, Adam. Patrick, you got the 200 TD record tonight. Does that, number one, does that mean anything? And number two, did you keep the ball?
I don't even – what is the record?
200.
Yeah, I mean, it means a ton because I guess the people that are on the list, the quarterbacks that have came before me. But I mean, you just got to keep going. I mean, the game has changed, so I think someone will pass me before too long. And so you just go out there and keep playing. And the one thing that doesn't change is Super Bowls, so I'm going to try to keep getting those.
I mean, like, incredible comedic timing to say, so what's the record? Yeah, no, it means a ton. That means so much to me. Thank you for bringing that up. That record that was what now? Nothing there is surprising. It is all completely in character for Patrick Mahomes, but it is also very funny. Last thing here on Mahomes, asked if he was surprised how much grass he had to work with on that long scramble, and also taking a bigger picture look at this Chiefs team.
No, the offensive line, first off, did a good job blocking. That pass rush is, I mean, it's one of the top in the NFL, if not the top, and it kind of opened up. But there was a lot of attention, which, I mean, while there was a flag, there was a lot of attention on Travis, which is, I mean, important. And so once he kind of went to the right, he took like three people with him, and it opened up for me. And so, like I said, I'm a little faster than people think I am. So maybe one day I'll get a spy. That's my goal. If I can get a spy, then I'll know I've made it.
Patrick, talk to some of your teammates who talk about going to the halves, some adversity. Trendy talked about Chris Jones and Spags talking about brotherhood. After a quarter of the season's already gone, what's the character to make with a team that you see? You talked about adversity and the different type of wins that you want. Give us an idea what the character of this team is going for.
Yeah, I know. I mean, a lot of the guys, even though they're young, we've been together now. We've played in a lot of different style of football games, and we've gotten better from it. And so whenever, like I was saying earlier, I mean, like whenever stuff's going bad, no one's pointing fingers. I just believe the defense is going to get a stop when we need to get a stop, and the defense believes in me that I'm going to find a way to get the offense going and score points. And every time we're walking in and kind of crossing from the defense going off and the offense going off both ways, it's like, hey, we got you, or hey, I got you right here. And I think that's a true brotherhood, is that we believe in each other whenever times are tough. That's why we find ways to win games like this.
There you have it, Patrick Mahomes right here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. It is, of course, a team victory and a very good football team at that, but a sort of odd 3-point win over the Jets. We'll talk more about it on the other side of this timeout. Plus, hopefully we'll hear from Derrick of Chiefs Digest. I know he's got a lot of plates spinning out there as he attempts to get everything cooking over on ChiefsDigest.com. But we'll talk to Matt at some point as the show rolls on before we wrap everything up here as we break down the Chiefs' victory 23-20 over the New York Jets.
You're listening to live post-game coverage on Kansas City's home for the National Football League. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hey, it's Bob with Culligan Water. The Aquasential is the latest line in Culligan's long history of top-of-the-line water treatment products. It's smarter, more efficient, and provides the best water yet. We've put together special pricing for 810 listeners, and we're offering discounts on options for your home or business. Contact us to claim your offer and learn more at CulliganKansasCity.com/810. Culligan Water. Better water, pure and simple.
Hear exclusive Chiefs coverage every week from the best in the business. Only on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Trent Green, Adam Schefter, Tim Grunhard, Adam Teicher, Matt Derrick, Adam Kaplan, Chef Chadia, Nick Leckie, Gary Barnett, Bill Moss, Mark Bowrecker, Stan Weber, Sam McDowell, Seth Kaiser, Blair Kirchhoff, Kevin Harlan, Field Yates, Jesse Newell, Cynthia Freeland, and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm Dr. Andrew Palmisano, a fellowship-trained orthopedic surgeon with Acentus Healthcare. Acentus now has orthopedic surgery and sports medicine. Myself and Drs. E.J. Wilkinson and Nick Aberle are available for all of your orthopedic needs. Come see our state-of-the-art clinics during our walk-in hours featuring same-day and next-day appointments, Monday through Friday in Leawood and on Parallel Parkway in Kansas City. Call 913-395-0294, 913-395-0294 to book your appointment at Acentus Healthcare today.
Mondays from 6 to 7 p.m., it's the KC Legend Show with myself, Sterling Holmes, live from Hollywood Casino. My special guest this Monday, former Pro Bowl defensive lineman and broadcaster Bill Moss. Myself and Bill will break down the Jets game and preview the upcoming game against the Minnesota Vikings. There's no better place than inside Hollywood Casino to place your bets, featuring 16 betting kiosks, 5 betting windows, and 45 HD TVs for viewing the best games. See you Monday from 6 to 7 p.m.
Rich Eisen here for Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up, Daniel Jones and the New York Giants play host to Geno Smith and the Seahawks. Seattle's coming off 2 high-scoring wins and looking for a third. Join me, Kevin Harlan, and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner for all the action on air and on the free live stream sponsored by AutoZone on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi folks, Chris Oswald here. If having your own backyard oasis is in your future, don't wait another second. Call my professional staff at ProBuilt Pool and Patio today. As the largest provider of fiberglass pools and spas, we have over 250 fiberglass pools and spa models to offer you. If the pool's too cool for you, check out our large lineup of hot tubs, saunas, and swim spas. Call or click today, 816-786-3893, or online at ProBuiltPatio.com.
Mahomes, wide open, it's Noah Gray to the end zone for the touchdown. So another third down and another big play. This time it is Gray with his first of the year. And the Chiefs are rolling.
Well, you're going to get so much attention on Kelsey, right? There he is. Everybody's paying attention to him, including Jordan Whitehead, who, oh, by the way, also had the other tight end, Noah Gray. But you can't help yourself. When it's 3rd and 3 and you get a chance to get off the field, you know where they like to go, and that's Travis Kelsey. Hard to not get distracted.
That Noah Gray touchdowns are play of the game, brought to you by Central Bank of the Midwest. At Central Bank of the Midwest, every customer is a first-round draft pick. Central Bank of the Midwest, strong roots, endless possibilities. Member FDIC. You know, I didn't know if I was going to mention this today, but according to my research, I believe that all of the diabetic tight ends in the NFL scored touchdowns today. All of the type 1, as to my knowledge, all 2 of the type 1 diabetic tight ends in the NFL scored touchdowns today. That's 1 for Noah Gray, 1 for Mark Andrews. Thank you. Applause provided by Dylan Michaels. I am the diabetic Joshua Brisco. That's probably a weird, you got to assume that I got some sort of connection for that very weird little Easter egg, I suppose. But the Easter egg's in my pancreas, and I can't find it. Dylan Michaels on the side of the glass. I'm Joshua Brisco. Covell Hudson producing the effort as well. Now joined by our superstar, Matt Derrick. Brought to you by Cap One Lending. The Freedom Loan at Cap One Lending is the exclusive loan that helps you pay your home off in less than half the time and gives you access to your home's equity without having to refinance. Go to caponelending.com. That's CAPONE lending.com. You can also go to ChiefsDigest.com to read more from Matt. Matt, this was sort of a weird one, my friend. I don't know where you're starting, but I'm starting with Zach Wilson being back.
Zach Wilson had a little stretch there, didn't he?
He did.
He had a little stretch. I mean, it was probably aided a little bit by some 50-50 balls going their way, or if you believe next-gen stats, some 30-70 balls going their way. I was having a hard time deciding there for a while if this was just Zach Wilson figuring things out or if it was Zach Wilson just throwing some passes that normally get intercepted, and today they were catching them. And the Chiefs weren't making plays on them. I kind of feel like it was the latter. I mean, I don't think that Zach Wilson is fixed, but there's no doubt. I mean, the Jets for, I would say, 2 quarters, maybe 2.5 quarters, went toe-to-toe with the Chiefs, and they were maybe the better team for a period of time.
Yeah, and I think that there is room somewhere within the grand scope of reasonability that maybe Zach Wilson hasn't been. Maybe final Zach Wilson isn't the absolute dumpster fire that we have seen since he had to take over for Aaron Rodgers, but I need to calibrate again on the Chiefs defense. You were a little bit of a you were leaving the diving board on Friday, but had not yet hit the water in terms of believing in the Chiefs defense. How do you take the overall spectacle of the game tonight? What does that change for you, if anything, just in terms of where you're at on the Chiefs defense?
I mean, I'm not sure it changes a whole lot. I mean, I'm probably at the exact same spot. I mean, could I have rewound maybe a couple of frames? Possibly, but I mean, look at this. I mean, okay, the defense essentially gave up 18 points. Maybe you give them credit for having, giving up 3 points on a short field. Okay, that was a tough one. And now if you look at that and you're saying to yourself, okay, well, they gave up 15 legitimate points to the Jets. That's a little bit too much, but considering it is the Jets, but because we're grading on a curve here. But you throw everything else, I mean, it is Sunday Night Football. It's on the road. I mean, maybe some of those factors balance out. But this was not, I don't think, the consistency that we've seen from this defense in the first 3 weeks of the season, especially the last couple of weeks. They gave up a few yards on the ground. It wasn't, terrible. And really, you take out that 143-yard run that Breece Hall had, and actually they were pretty good on the run against the run for the most part. Didn't really, I want to say that they kind of had a bad game defensively against the pass, but they only gave up 245 yards to Zach Wilson. I mean, the only thing I guess you could criticize is saying that they didn't get the turnovers based on the amount of mistakes that this Jets offense usually seems to make. I guess, like I said, I mean, I think there's both good and bad to be able to take from this performance defensively.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that where I've even ended up, sometimes I've got the full game figured out and what it means by the time this show starts, and sometimes I get to the end of the show and I realize what I actually think, just by the nature of how it works to start talking about a game as soon as it goes final. And I think what's going on for me is that I can't feel good about the fact that we watched the Chiefs go up 17-0 on the Jets and then we're tied 20-20 right on the other side of the half. Like that feels like losing ground to the Jets, and that's not a good feeling. But I also don't think that any of these standalone performances were bad enough that I actually would want to backtrack on my belief in the Chiefs defense. I just don't feel great about this performance either. Like I'm going to live in that tension for a little bit, and I don't feel too bad about it.
I mean, this game to me was almost a carbon copy offensively. I mean, if you look at the total output, and I'm not talking about the hot start and it being 17-0 in the first quarter, and you're thinking that this is just going to be Bears-esque. But if you look at the stats from this game, it was very Jacksonville-esque in that, the Chiefs, I think against Jacksonville, put up, 399 yards? Put up 401 yards tonight. That's a fine offensive output. I mean, that's going to score you a lot of points. But why did you find yourself in a dogfight with the Jets? Because the offense made too many mistakes. You turned the football over twice. You have, I want to say all 5 of those penalties were against the offense. Maybe there was one defensive penalty I'm forgetting about, but a lot of offensive penalties again. Your offense gives up 2 points and the football. I mean, that's an offensive mistake. I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, there were some things offensively that you need to clean up from this game, and that was back to the Chiefs doing what they did in the first couple of weeks. So we're now at the first quarter of the season, and I think we can safely say that the Chiefs' offense did more to lose in 3 of those 4 games than the defense did. I mean, this offense has only put together 1 complete game for the first 4 weeks. That is kind of scary to me. But at the same time, they're still 3-1. They generally have proven that they're going to get the job done eventually. You've got to feel that the mistakes that they're making, that they can clean them up. I mean, that these are not just systemic problems with the offense. They're just correctable mistakes. And if that's the case, and they're able to give their defense a break every once in a while, this team should be fine in the long run.
Well, let's do a positive takeaway, and then what for me is at least like a alarm bell quietly ringing kind of takeaway. But let's start with, I imagine Isaiah Pacheco got the game ball. He's getting the shout out from Andy Reid early on in the post-game press conference. He's getting all of the statistical takeaways from this game. 43 yards on 3 catches, but most importantly, 20 carries for 115 yards, that long 48-yard touchdown. Even without that explosive run, his aggregate numbers were pretty solid tonight. There was some weird kind of ebbs and flows in the running game, but that tends to be how running games behave. What did you see from Pacheco tonight, returning to his home state? Not quite his hometown stadium, as we heard him talk about this week, but going back to Jersey, not too far from Rutgers, and putting out over 100 yards on the ground and crossing 150 all-purpose.
Yeah, Isaiah Pacheco is more of a Philly guy than a New York guy. So there's that. That was my game ball. I mean, that was the guy that I felt like played the most consistent. You're right. It was weird in that Isaiah Pacheco is typically one of the hardest guys in the league to stuff. His I think his stuff rate is usually more like maybe 10 to 12%, and it was closer to 20-25% tonight. He doesn't usually get stopped behind the line of scrimmage, but he had a few negatives tonight. But then those were countered by the fact that he averaged 5.8 yards a carry. Looking at it statistically, I mean, this was obviously the best performance of Isaiah Pacheco's young career so far. But this was what, you're hoping that he can be. I mean, if he can be your number one bell cow back and be a 1,000-yard guy, you need to have some performances like this. And he gave that. But the offensive line in the first quarter really plowed some holes open for him. The only concern for me is that what happened in the second and third quarters, because it wasn't just Mahomes throwing the football away that was the problem. I mean, it was kind of a little bit of everything, but a big part of it was the offensive line just all of a sudden seemed out of sync. Yeah. Those holes that were opening up in the first quarter weren't there in the second and third quarter. There seemed to be some inconsistency. The protections for Mahomes broke down, and maybe you just have to give a lot of credit to the Jets that, they've got an above-average defense. Maybe it's an elite defense that's just stuck on a bad team and, gets a little demoralized every once in a while. I think that was certainly the case in the first quarter. But maybe they just did some things that the Chiefs had to take some time to adjust to. But I thought that the one guy, even like I said, even though this was a little uncharacteristic night for Pacheco and that he had some runs stopped behind the line of scrimmage, he was the one guy that consistently, especially in the second and third quarter, that they could still go to move the football a little bit.
Yeah, and finding ways that you can have, as we've talked about, I think Matt Nagy talked about, coach has been talking about for 2 weeks or whatever. If you can find an easy button to hit, and no matter where that comes in the offense, that's a nice thing to have. And if that could be Pacheco, that's blast. I love watching Isaiah Pacheco run because he just runs like a maniac, and it's a blast. On the negative side of the offensive coin, this was like one of the first things we talked about tonight, and I don't think this is the most important takeaway, but it's just something that felt so pervasive to me that it's hard to look away from. The Chiefs' leading wide receiver in this game ended up being Rashee Rice, 3 for 32. Kadarius Toney was the leading receiver for a while before that, 2 for 22, and one of those was that little pop pass. MVS had a couple of targets, and some of them ended up with positive yardage because of penalties, but he ended up only having that 1 6-yard first down chain moving reception, which I was excited about. It just was his only catch. Justin Watson, 1 for 5. I don't, and Sky Moore gets shut out again. He had some work on the ground, but nothing through the air. We've talked about the moving target for these young wide receivers, specifically the wide receivers, because for what that position group is. The Jets secondary is leaps and bounds better than the Bears secondary. That's obvious. Help me figure out where I should be in terms of my level of concern for wondering when it's going to start looking easier at any point, if it is, for the Chiefs wide receiving core.
Yeah, that is, I think, a legitimate and fair question. And, once again, we may have had this conversation on Friday, but We're now 4 games in, and as far as yardage goes, the leading receiver on this team, including tight ends, is Justin Watson with 163 yards. And that pace, you're talking about. And now, I don't think Justin Watson's going to end up being a 600-yard receiver, but that's what you're talking about right now. I mean, even with Travis Kelce, I mean, you're talking about him being a 600-yard receiver this year. Yeah. I don't think that's how the case is going to be, but once again, we circle back to the question, is there at this point in their career an alpha receiver in this room? And I just don't think that there is. And, Rashee Rice might become that. I don't think he's that at this point in his career. You see a performance like this, and then you start to question, can Sky Moore be that guy? Because he's through 4 games, 7 catches, 112 yards. I mean, that's a bad day for Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Much less a month.
Yeah.
So that I do think is the worrisome thing is that, who is the go-to receiver? Who's the guy that you're going to go to on 3rd and 7, to get a first down? Because for a long time it was Tyreek Hill. It was Travis Kelce. And I don't think there's any doubt. When you talk about the easy button, it's getting harder and harder for Travis Kelce too. And I mean, I do wonder if it's the fact that he's going to be 34 here pretty soon, and things are just going to continue to get harder when you get to that age. I mean, I don't know, because right now, I mean, if you need to convert a 3rd down, well, I think we proved today. I mean, your best chance is just to let Patrick Mahomes run around and eventually scramble for it himself.
Yeah.
I mean, it's no longer where you're just automatic that you've got, hey, Tyreek Hill can beat anybody one-on-one. Travis Kelce can beat anybody one-on-one. I don't know who that is right now. And I think that is a legitimate concern that until this, receiver room, we've been worried that, one of the questions is going to be, is there enough balls to go around for all these receivers? Well, at this point, nobody's earning the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're Patrick Mahomes and you're trying to find one of these wide receivers, none of these guys at this point have proven themselves to be the guys that Mahomes can count on.
I don't want to ask what you think is the most likely answer to this question, but if you were going to come up with the fun one, is there anything the Chiefs can do to alleviate that right now? I'm going to mention one name that I don't think can be the answer, and my logic for you while you can decide what you think. But Chase Claypool doesn't solve any of this because he's on a team that also needs receiving help, and he isn't on the field, and that whole thing is falling apart. Like, to your point, the Chiefs don't have an issue of not enough guys who can run routes. They have an issue of not enough guys who have demanded the football. Look, if the Falcons are ready for a rescue mission for Kyle Pitts, I would follow that train to its logical conclusion. But either is there a thing that could be done next, or is there even a twinge of regret for any of the moves the Chiefs didn't make this offseason in your mind?
I mean, there could be a twinge of regret that you could say that maybe the Chiefs did not go out and either keep a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, or go out and get, the new Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, you're hoping that they did, and that, Rashee Rice is eventually going to be that guy. But, at this point, it's a lot to ask for a young receiver to come in and become that kind of player in year one for Andy Reid. I mean, that's just an incredibly tall ask. Yeah. Because a lot of guys have become really good receivers for Andy Reid and didn't do much as rookies, because it's really hard to do that in this offense. I don't know. I mean, I think that when we look back at this season, I don't think it's going to be a case of, the Chiefs should have gone and gotten this guy as a trade in week 5. I mean, I don't think that the fix is outside this organization. I think the fix is still here. It's just a matter of finding your best rotation, getting these guys getting some confidence. Maybe it's just you thought that maybe last week against the Bears was the slump buster, but clearly it wasn't. You need something. Like I said, I think the one thing you need somebody to step up and stand out in this group. And I just don't know if that player is there. But you look at these numbers that this receiving group is putting up through 4 games, and it's not what you expect from Andy Reid. It's not what you expect from Patrick Mahomes. And I don't know if just more time and more chemistry is the solution to this.
Yeah, I don't know either. The only name that I'm like actually kind of tiptoeing around is, man, like I do wish that DeAndre Hopkins was a member of this offense, but that's not the same thing as me saying I think the Chiefs made a mistake not matching the deal that he got from Tennessee, because I'm still not sure. Chris Jones and all of the difficulties notwithstanding, I'm not sure that would have been a good deal for them to make for the long haul. But I also am not sure I'm happy with these pass catchers right now. And you know, maybe this whole building an NFL team thing, maybe it is actually kind of difficult.
Oh, it is. It's incredibly difficult. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt about that, because we can come up with all these different solutions, and there's no doubt. I mean, no matter which solution you're talking about, whether it's Juju or it's DeAndre Hopkins or door number 3, none of them are technically valid solutions, because you couldn't fit any of these guys in under the salary cap, what the Chiefs have. And then when you factor in, you know, the situation that you had with Chris Jones, it was even more difficult. Yeah. So, no, I mean, there is not an easy solution to this. And, you know, this is probably, you know, one of the years that I think that the Chiefs, I don't know, that maybe they didn't completely recognize and feel like that this was a rebuilding year for the receiving group. Maybe they felt like, you know, last year was an indication that even though Mahomes had a bunch of new faces, that he can, you know, elevate those guys quickly. This group is just a little different, though. I mean, it is younger. I mean, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, this is a very inexperienced receiver group, and that's part of it. I mean, you're seeing these guys, I think, make some still young mistakes. I mean, even Sky, I think, still makes some, you know, what I wouldn't necessarily call rookie mistakes, but just, you know, youth mistakes. And it's going to happen when you got so many young guys and so many guys who are new to the system. And, you know, and the one thing that I maybe it is entirely the injury, because playing through that bone bruise and what's going on with the hyperextended knee that Travis Kelce has, it has to be a continuing limiting factor. Yeah. So it might not be that he's just getting old all of a sudden. It could be that he's old and hurt. And I completely give it up, because even though he is old and hurt, he's still playing like Travis Kelce as best he can. He's just not the Travis Kelce that we're used to right now.
Well, you're still the Matt Derrick that we're used to, so I appreciate you being able to fight through being old and hurt to join us here past both of our bedtimes tonight. We will we'll part ways this way, and hopefully both of us can be seeing the end of the workday here pretty soon. Appreciate it, Matt.
As always, Josh. And I don't know if there's any type 2 diabetics out there in the NFL, but they need to get some love if there are.
I know. I think that would be an entirely different bucket of research to hop into. And frankly, that's not my diabetic area of expertise at this point. So if we need to come up with sort of feuding or maybe collaborative diabetic NFL teams, clearly you know that I will support them wholeheartedly, but not whole pancreasly, because I'm physically incapable of that.
That's why I love you, Josh.
Because of my bad pancreas? That's why you love me?
I love you because you have both a big heart and a big pancreas.
Go ahead and mark that, Dylan. I got to be honest, man. That didn't come through the phone quite as cleanly as you might have liked, so I'm going to go ahead and review that tape, and we'll talk about it tomorrow and see how it came together.
I will not remember any of this conversation tomorrow because it's after midnight. My mom always said nothing good happens after midnight.
And certainly no good radio happens after midnight. See you, Matt.
See you, Josh.
Matt Derrick of ChiefsDigest.com. You can read his work there. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Derrick. We'll wrap things up ourselves here on the Sports Radio 810 WHB Postgame Show. Here's a couple of final thoughts to leave you with before we get out of here and hand you over to hopefully some bedtime before we get to the action. The Border Patrol takes things back over at 6 tomorrow. The Zone at 10, which will be myself, that very same Dylan Michaels across the glass, and, of course, the esteemed Jason Anderson. Here's where I land for now. This is a weird game. That part shouldn't alarm or surprise you. It was a Chiefs game. Of course it was weird. They play, as we say. But in a game that was as conflicted as this one, I think some of the bad feelings are going to overshadow some decent football. Decent football on prime time when you're the center of the NFL universe, when Taylor Swift and a bunch of super famous friends are all up in one of the suites. The entire energy all feels kind of odd. And it's kind of odd when Travis Kelce's the only member of your football team who has more than 3 catches. When Isaiah Pacheco and Rashee Rice are the only 2 with exactly 3. And everybody below that was just having a cameo. I actually think we saw Taylor Swift on screen more often than we saw any Chiefs pass catchers not named Travis Kelce and maybe Pacheco and Rice. But I do think that letting Zach Wilson, having one competent game of football, erase your belief in the Chiefs defense would be a mistake. It doesn't feel very good watching your team be up 17-0 on a sorry football squad who you anticipated perhaps being able to vanquish in a blowout in this game. I thought a shutout was on the table, I really did. But ultimately, the Chiefs overcame a very good Jets defense and a surprisingly good game from Zach Wilson and still came out of that game victorious. The rest of this year until Germany is going to be odd. Hopefully the postgame shows will still be fun. Till the next one. Bye, Mom.
Looking for that perfect gift for that hard-to-shop-for friend or family member? Do what I do. Send the gift of competition, Kansas City barbecue, and let Joe's Kansas City deliver the gift that will stand out from all the rest.